The POG is a new addition to the Electro Harmonix line, and it stands for Polyphonic Octave Generator. And what that means is you can play chords that this unit will track with an octave below and 2 octaves above. So you have the first octave up and the second octave up. Give you an idea how well this tracks from the dry signal down to nothing but the sub-octave signal. It's great for chords. You can use it just to boost the harmonics in a very subtle way. 12-string effect with 1 octave up, slightly detuned. Then you can add a second octave, slightly detuned. And you have an 18-string guitar. The coolest effect you can get with a POG is an organ sound. You can use the low-pass filter to tune it in, get your octaves. There's nothing out there like it. This is one of the latest from Electro Harmonix, the English Muff'n, which they designed to recreate the 60s British sound. It has two 12AY7 tubes and a traditional tone stack of treble, mid, and bass. And it'll get nice subtle overdrives to full-blown crank. Let's kick it in. It's very touch sensitive. And it also features true bypass. It's a really versatile pedal. Here's a cool blues tone. All right, here it is for a heavier sound. That's bypassed. Kick it in. Then you can scoop the mids. Add some more gain to it. You can get a great feedback with this pedal by boosting the mid-range, putting a little more gain on it. With a little tweaking of the knobs, I believe you'll find that the English Muff'n is a bloody masterpiece. This is the new 16-second digital delay. It's a recreation based on the legendary 16-second delay that's highly sought after. And what sets this apart from the other delays that allow you to overdub parts is that it works with beats and measures as opposed to just seconds. So you can overdub as many parts as you would like. You can also do reverse parts. You can add modulation. And also the unit will act as a standard delay. All right, I'm going to record a 2-bar passage So I have it set for 2 bars. I hit record, it gives me a tempo, and I get a light. It gives me an idea of a start point. All right, now I can start stacking as many parts as I would like. All right, now I'm going to put a reverse part in there. All right, so what's cool now is I can add some sweep. So it adds the modulation, which is really cool. Okay, I can adjust the tempo, make it slower, which is a really cool effect. Go up faster. You can also adjust the pitch and tempo. Throw that switch over. Which would be good if you want to record a really low part. All right, so let's see what that comes out like. The other mode is called short delay. I can press record. It'll record up to 4 minutes. And throw it over into loop. Mess with the pitch. The other cool feature for the 16-second digital delay is that you can connect a drum machine via MIDI, and it'll work off of the loop function. So you can press record. You hear a beat that I have programmed in. You can adjust the tempo. This takes the place of the click. Now I can start recording as before. See, I have the sweep in there. I can take it out if I want. Now I can just record anything I want on it. And you can keep going as before. This is a foot controller that works in conjunction with a 16-second digital delay. And it takes the record, play, and other functions and puts them at your feet. The other functions being the sweep, the feedback, and the reverse effect. And then as well, it gives you an octave. It'll shift your loop up an octave or down an octave, so you can record another passage over it. It's really cool. Also, the unit is powered just simply by the guitar cable that you use to connect it to the main delay pedal. So I can hit record. I have a tempo in place. Wait for it to go solid. All right, now I'll show you the octave function. Put in a record. thud. Now I can keep recording. Put the reverse on, do the same thing again. There you have it, fun for days. This is the Holier Grail reverb. It's a very cool, compact verb for guitar. It has 3 settings. One is the spring reverb setting, like on the old guitar amplifiers. Has hall reverb and what they call flurb, which is reverb with flange at it. It's very cool. Here's a demonstration of the first setting, which is the spring reverb. You can have less reverb on there. Or you can take it up very extreme. Take it up to 10. Perfect for recording, totally takes out the dry signal. The next setting is hall reverb. What's really great about this is they've dialed in a very nice hall sound that rids the need of a very expensive digital delay. And the third setting is flurb, which is the flanger with the reverb, which is a really cool, unique preset that you won't find on any other pedal. So nowhere else will you find a reverb tank in a little box for such a reasonable price. This is the Black Finger compressor. It's quite different from about any other guitar compressor available, as it takes a tube studio style compressor and puts it in a small box for guitar. It has 2 12AX7 tubes, and it has an optical circuit that is passive, so it doesn't color the tone whatsoever. There are 2 modes, normal and squash. I'll show you normal first. There are 2 light sources that actually affect the attack. You have LED, which is a fast attack, and lamp, which is a slower attack. I'll show you the LED first in normal mode, and I'll start with it disengaged, which is true bypass. And you'll see it enhances the guitar beautifully. Okay, here is the lamp position, which is a slower attack, and this setting works out really well for recording vocals or keyboards. There it is disengaged. Put it back in, and you hear how much it enhances the tone. Next is the squash position, which really gives you a high compression, but as you'll see, it is very smooth. Very nice quality tube compression. It's nice and smooth. You don't get any of that step-up effect that you find with cheaper compressors. The Black Finger works really well with acoustic guitar. It's It's great for recording because it has a very high signal-to-noise ratio and it's very smooth and transparent. And it's really exceptional for live use when you're using the bridge transducer style pickups. It can be a little hard sounding. It smooths it out for you. Hands down my all-time favorite compressor for guitar. It's a studio tube compressor and a pedal. The Deluxe Memory Man is another legendary Electro Harmonix pedal, and it's the warmest, most musical analog delay out there, in my opinion. It has chorus vibrato and will give you some pretty radical effects as well. The first thing I'll show you is a dotted eighth note pattern, where you set your tempo, and then you think of it like bop, bop. So you can also get a really nice musical slap delay. Here's the chorus effect. And next is the vibrato effect. And in the finest Electro Harmonix tradition, you can get some really radical over-the-top effects. Pretty cool. Another nice hidden feature to the Deluxe Memory Man is its preamp. Here we are in bypass mode. You can kick on the preamp with the delay entirely off. Livens up your signal. You can also crank it. Nothing touches the analog Deluxe Memory Man delay. This, my friends, is the legendary Electro Harmonix Big Muff distortion. It's been known for years for its rich harmonics, great overdrive, great with chords, and for singing solo tones. The legendary sound for over 30 years. This is the legendary micro synthesizer. It is a very affordable guitar synth that is driven by the guitar's pickups themselves, and it doesn't require a special synthesizer guitar pickup. It gives you voice control. You have a sub-octave, a higher octave, a square wave, and the guitar tone itself. You can adjust the attack, and then you have a filter section that gives you a broad variety of tones and effects to make this a very versatile unit to play with. First, I will show you the 4 voices that you have to choose from. There's a sub-octave, then you have the guitar voice, the octave above, and then square wave. Alright, so then you can blend any of the various ones. I'm going to start with a sub-octave. Maybe put in a little octave. Add some square wave. Change the resonance, make it a little brighter. The next control I'll show you is the attack delay. So here it is off. I bring it in. To a longer. Next, I will show you the filter sweep stage. And we're going to start going from a low frequency to a high frequency. You can adjust the resonance. And the rate, the speed it goes. All right, now we're going to start from a higher frequency to a lower. Make it a faster rate. And then also, you can hone in on a certain frequency. I'm going to add a little attack too for this effect. It's very easy to get a variety of sounds out of this unit, and I'll show you a few. Here's a bowed effect. And here's a very percussive sound. All right, here's a really cool lead sound. For whatever style of music you're into, I think you'll find that the micro synthesizer is capable of some really cool fat analog synth sounds. Electro Harmonix has done it again with this one, the Pulsar, which has to be the most versatile tremolo I've heard in a long time. You can actually shape the waveform from triangle to square wave, make it symmetrical or asymmetrical. You turn it to the left, changes the symmetry of the wave, the triangle wave. Turn it to the right. Here's an example of the square wave. really hear how this pedal is unique from any other tremolo pedal. You can put more weight on the front of the wave. Turn it around and put more weight on the back side of the wave. Some great effects. Get it really extreme. The Pulsar allows you to create more landscapes with tremolo than any other pedal out there. This is the Tube Zipper, definitely one of my most favorite pedals of all time. It combines a really nice smooth tube overdrive using two 12AX7s with an envelope filter. And the combination of the two, you can get some really wild effects. So the pedal engaged, I'm going to turn up the resonance of the envelope filter. That gives you an up envelope. Then you can reverse the envelope to the down position. Just the sensitivity. Next, we go back to the up envelope, and we're going to add some distortion, some drive, I should say. And you have an input gain that will increase your gain feeding into the envelope filter, and then you have a drive that's after the filter. Really cool. It really accents the resonance. The next key feature is the trill control on here, which when you increase the resonance, it introduces an LFO, a low frequency oscillator, which creates this trill effect. You can use it as a standalone distortion by turning off the sensitivity, getting sort of that half-cocked wah sound. Which is great for feedback at low levels. This pedal is also capable of self-oscillation. Here's one of the crazy effects. This may give you an idea of why it's called the Tube Zipper. So as you can see, anybody can pretty much dial their own unique sound out of it. So without a doubt, this pedal is awesome. Really cool effects. Coolest pedal to come out in years. The Wiggler, this is a vibrato tremolo pedal that is all tube driven, uses two 12AX7s, and it creates a very warm tremolo and also 4 classic settings of vibrato. You can get a great classic warm tremolo. You can increase the volume, make it nice and creamy. Then you can work with the intensity. And this is what I love about Electro Harmonix pedals. They always take things over the top. So you have that could apply to techno users as well. The first vibrato setting I will show you is the lose setting. The next setting is called Ham. Gives you the rotating speaker sound. This tremolo AC is reminiscent of the old British classic Class A 30-watt amplifier tremolo. The fourth vibrato setting, called Whirl, is reminiscent of the all-so-famous classic electric piano tone. The Wiggler, to me, is the warmest, baddest sounding tremolo that I've found out there. The Graphic Fuzz is a cool pedal because it incorporates graphic EQ with distortion. You have a 6-band graphic EQ that can work as a standalone. You can add the distortion, and it also has an envelope that adjusts the sensitivity of your pick attack and dynamics. So you can key it in where it's a very extreme attack. First, we'll start with the true bypass signal. Then I kick in the effect, which has some overdrive. Give you an idea of the overdrive. And then you can, for a really heavy scoop sound, you can just find the frequency. Sit there and just mold your sound. Or you can go to a peaked mid-range. Sit there and so this is the setting I like. As you can see with the EQ, you're starting with your low frequencies going up to the high frequencies. So you can sort of peak it. Ends up being sort of a wave there. All right, here I'm going to disengage the distortion and use it as an EQ alone. And this is to enhance the sound. I'll bypass it. Kick it in. See, I have it enhanced in the low end and the high end. The last thing I'll show you is the envelope response, which is the dynamics and sustain sliders that work in conjunction with the distortion. They will allow your pick attack to be more linear in its lowest settings. Whereas if you increase both the sustain and the dynamics, find the sweet spot, it's much more touch sensitive to your pick attack. So when it comes to tailoring your sound, the Graphic Fuzz is a good way to go. This is the frequency analyzer. It's a ring modulator. It will not analyze what you're playing, but instead it will duplicate a note at any interval above what you're playing and mirror that interval below what you're playing. End result is you get some really crazy, wild sounds. You can tune it to the note that you're playing. You might choose the key that you're playing in. Fine tune it. Turn the filter on, which essentially removes the top note. This is with the blend knob all the way over. As you can see, it's really musical with chords. So if you want your tone to go atonal, get the frequency analyzer. The double muff. The double muff incorporates the original Muff Fuzz circuit from 1969. And they've added a second circuit that cascades into the first, so you get the original creamy overdrive with an over-the-top distortion. So here's the single muff. First, I'm starting with it disengaged, which is true bypass. It's great for just that slight breakup, just right on the edge of overdrive. So now we'll add the second muff, which cascades into the first for a completely over-the-top tone. Double your pleasure with the double muff. This is the Bassballs, a very popular pedal. It's an envelope follower designed specifically for bass, but of course you can use it for guitar as well. It has two sweeping filters, and it will capture the broad frequency spectrum of a bass guitar. It will also track every note that you play. Here's an example of the Bassballs. I'll add distortion. All right, I'll give you an example of the Bassball with guitar. Put in some distortion. So as you can see, the bass pulse will give you the pulse you need for the funk. This is the white finger compressor. What makes this different from the black finger is this one uses FET solid state circuitry versus tube circuitry. It has the same features. It has the squash for heavy compression. You have LED and lamp for fast or slower attack, and they've also added a sensitivity control, which is similar to the ratio of compression control. It's a really great sounding compressor at a very affordable price. This compressor also incorporates the optical circuit, and we'll start with the LED. Now for the lamp setting, which is a slower attack. And this setting is great for vocals and keyboards and just a really nice light compression to fill it out. I'll compare it to the really nice and transparent compression. Here's an example of the squash feature. It's really great for filling out your guitar tone. That's the signal unaffected. So the White Finger is another great compressor. It's quiet and studio clean at a very affordable price. This is the bass micro synthesizer. Like the micro synthesizer for guitar, this one's tailored for bass. And it gives you a filter section that works with the bass frequencies. It's totally analog, great sounding. Here's the voice mix section on the bass synth. Put up the sub-octave, the guitar signal, an octave higher, and the square wave. And of course you can blend them in any combination. Here's an example of a low frequency to high frequency range in the filter sweep. Here's an example going from a high frequency to a low frequency with a little bit quicker rate. Now, I'll put both the start and the stop frequencies together, and you can use it to hone in on various frequencies. I'll give you some examples of some cool sounds using the bass. This is a bowed effect. Here's a percussive sound. And here's a lead sound. So you now have a synthesizer for bass that'll give you some incredible funky sounds. The Worm is an all-analog modulation pedal with 4 different functions. It gives you vibrato, tremolo, phaser, and a modulation wah, which is very unique sounding. You also have an auto manual switch. When you flip it over to manual, it allows you to freeze the wah setting so you can set a notch point, which is great for leads, and you can also freeze the sweep of the phaser. The first setting I'll show you is the vibrato. The next setting I'll show you is the tremolo, which is a very sweet sounding. The third setting is the classic Electro Harmonix phaser sound. The manual switch in conjunction with the phaser really allows for some cool uses. You can get different sounds with the same guitar, which is great for recording. Move it up to about, say, 2 o'clock. The last very unique effect to the worm is the modulated wah. Here I'll start at 0. Key it in. Or slow down the rate. You can also use the manual switch with the wah. Find a notch. Which is great for lead sounds. So as you can see, the worm is a very versatile pedal with 4 different sounds in a very affordable package. This is the Holier Grail pedal. It's an expanded version of the Holy Grail with an additional algorithm in the reverb. You have spring, hall, flurb, which is the flanger and reverb. As well, you have a room reverb. You have 2 lengths, short and long, and there is also a gate with a gate threshold, which provides a variety of really cool effects and also is great to use with drums and for studio applications. First, I will show you the spring reverb in the long position. The short position. Next, I'll show you the hall reverb. Here's the long position. Short. Next is the flurb setting, which is the reverb with a flanger. Now for the short flurb, which is exceptionally cool when you're in the flat keys. Here we are in B flat. Next is the room setting. Go back to long. The short. Just to blend a little. Now, when you introduce the gate to the reverb, which is sensitive to your dynamics with how hard you play, you get a lot of really cool effects, albeit they're not natural reverb effects, they're really creative. Next, we are going to reverse the gate, the way it reacts. So this means that when I pick softly, the reverb will be on. When I hit hard, the reverb goes away. There's another really cool application with the Holy Grail, and that's with the use of a drum machine. Because of the gate and the threshold, you can set it to where it'll isolate the snare from a beat. Great effect. You can also reverse it to where it's the kick drum that gets the reverb. And then the snare's quiet. So as you can see, the Holier Grail takes the Holy Grail quite a few steps further. This is the mini Q-Tron, which is a continuation of the Electro Harmonix Q-Tron legacy, the coolest, fattest, analog-sounding envelope filters available. And this one's a simplified version. Gives you 3 filter settings, a Q adjustment, and the drive. Really simple to operate and sounds great. I'll give you examples of the 3 different modes and a few different sounds here. We'll start with the high pass. And use the Q control, and the drive. To adjust the extremity of the effect. Check the next filter position. Get a wider bandwidth. Again, the low pass filter. Increase the drive. Increase the Q. Really cool effect. So as you can see, the mini Q-Tron is a cost-effective version of the legendary Q-Tron sound. This is the Tube EQ, one of the more recent offerings from Electro Harmonix. It is exactly that. It gives you a 2-band shelving type EQ and a parametric bandpass filter. It's driven by 2 12AX7 tubes. So you can expand the possibilities of your existing sound and add some really great effects as well. So I'm going to start with the Tube EQ bypassed. Kick it in. All right, so now I'll introduce the band pass into the signal. You can tune in the frequency, and then you can adjust the width of it from very thin to very wide. You get some great sounds. Turn it up some more. You can add an expression pedal, which will control the frequency of the bandpass filter. Or you can make it go over the top and oscillate. So the tube EQ adds tube warmth to your sound and allows you to sculpt your tone